This phrase here, putting on new clothes, putting Christ on like new clothes. There were, in ancient cultures, there were these clear lines of demarcation when you're referring to the coming of age process. Let's go to this next slide. So for Jewish boys, age 12. When you were age 12, you would go up front, the synagogue, you would read from Torah, and you folks will recognize this is what Jesus does at his bar mitzvah. He gets up front, he reads from the Torah. Age 12, he is declared a man. Paul he's taking from this Roman culture. Watch this. So that's what happens in Jewish culture. Greek culture, this is what they do. The boys, they have long hair, long flowing locks. But at age 18, they cut them off. And they offer them to the gods. And at that moment, with the short hair, they are essentially saying to everyone, I have become a man. I'm a man. Ugh. Ugh. Why we do that, man, I don't know. That's weird. It's kind of creepy. For the Romans, this is where Paul begins to borrow and show us, again, this is what he's pulling from. He says, in the Roman culture, ages 14 to 17, when you became an adult, you took off your old toga and you put on the adult toga. And you wore that. And when you walked around, people knew that's a man. Here comes the man. And that's the man. And you would actually take your old toys. And again, some of you know this from Paul's writings. The old stuff they would give up. The old toys, the old things that were clearly childish. The childish things they would give up to the gods. And they would become men. And so when Paul says, you put on the new clothing, you put on Christ like new clothes, he's referring to this Roman idea. When we put on Christ, we don't see childish things anymore. What do we see? Jesus. I want to wear Jesus every day. I want him to be on the sleeve of every conversation I have. When I'm driving in LA traffic and someone cuts me off, which happens every minute, I want to be able to say, no big deal. Have a good day. Rather than tell them they're number one. I want to wear Christ like I do clothing. Clothing, I want you to think about this. Clothing identifies us with certain groups. I try really hard to look like I didn't just wake up out of bed in the morning. And Sean will tell you, I'm totally embarrassing Sean right now, but Sean, when I look at Sean, and now Sean, like, you're just wearing normal clothes today. I'm kind of let down. But Sean is like, Sean and Silvino, they're both some of the most fashionable people I know. And I sometimes, this is true, you can ask Sean. I will text him periodically. I'll be like, Sean, will this outfit look okay? I don't even ask my wife anymore. I'm like, hey, Sean, what do you think of this outfit? So weird. We have a weird relationship. Clothing will identify you with certain groups. Some of you, you're like, oh, this person would be really cute with that person. They seem to be the same. You guys should meet in life group. Clothing often does this for us. It identifies us with certain groups. When I'm wearing Christ, people will naturally begin to identify me. Oh, he's a Christian. And it's not the weird baggage phrase, oh, he's a Christian. It's there must be something different about that dude. He genuinely likes people. He must be a Christian. I would love that if people talked about Christian in that regard, rather than, oh, he's a Christian. Clothing, it also covers our flaws. Amen? I thought I might get a better response from that. Clothing, it does. It covers our flaws. Or if you're feeling really good that day and you just worked out your huge biceps, you wear a tighter shirt. Right? It covers our flaws, or it shows our perfections. Knowing Christ means I'm no longer identified by my flaws. I am made new in him. His character shines through. Clothing also is something that I think we need to be conscious of wearing. Would you agree with that? we should probably all be conscious of wearing clothes? How many of you have ever had these dreams where you go to school and you're sitting there and you feel an uncomfortably cold breeze? No one else is in the room yet. And as people start walking in the room, you begin to notice that people are looking at you funny. And you're like, what? Hey. And then the teacher walks in and she's looking at you funny. And you're like, why is everyone looking at me funny? Oh, no, I forgot my clothes. And you freak out, and that's the minute you wake up. Maybe just me. Sounds like I have an issue. We should be that concerned about wearing Christ every day. If I walk out of my door and I haven't connected with Christ that morning, I should feel naked. I should feel uncomfortable. I should feel like, oh man, I'm just not ready for my day. Last part about what clothing teaches me. Once we put on clothing, the clothing is closer to us than anything. And it determines how we often feel. Think about this. The first thing I do when I get home, let me figure out how to say this appropriately. The first thing I do when I get home, I quickly change into my sweatpants. And I feel nice and cozy. I'm like, sweatpants. And I just feel comfortable. Some of us, when we wear certain outfits, we feel frumpy. Other outfits, we just don't feel good. Others, we feel really good. Clothing oftentimes will make us feel certain ways. When you are wearing Christ daily, that should change the way you feel about yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, look at how you interact with others. If I feel terrible about myself every day and I'm like, woe is me. I feel terrible. And you know those outfits that you wear that make you feel that way. Oh, I feel terrible. And all you see are your flaws and your inadequacies. How will you treat others? Put on Christ daily. It will change the way you interact with people. It'll change the way you view yourself.